produced at Halifax's Eastlink Studios, and broadcast on cable, satellite, and via the internet. You are listening to the Inclusion Revolution.
And now, 60 Seconds with a VoicePrint listener.
Hi, my name is Ron Filio, and I'm from Regina, Saskatchewan. I'm a diabetic, and my eyesight started to go on me about 12 or 14 years ago. I probably got between 5 and 10% vision. I enjoy some of your movies, which are sort of later at night or through the day. And to me, there's not one program that I say is substantially better than anything else. I just love the service sort of in its entirety. I would say anybody that has not heard of VoicePrint certainly is something it's worth looking into. I've enjoyed it for a long period of time, and I encourage people and tell people about it all the time. I say dial into whatever channel is available in your particular area, and give VoicePrint a chance, because they're an incredible. It's a great company. I really thank you for all the things you're doing for the blind community.
VoicePrint, devoted to breaking barriers.
Well, Paul and I were having a few laughs on the break, just in case you think this Inclusion Revolution stuff's all business. It really isn't. We have a great time here. Welcome back. We're just going to wrap up a little bit on the conference before we get to our medical breakthrough news and our poll of the week. And Paul, what do we need to tell our listeners? Anything else we left out around this conference? Because the people at Reachability won't be happy with me if I leave out something important. But I thought it was great we brought up the trade show element, that they'll be there, the round tables. Oh, I know. They're feeding you, I hear.
Oh, yes. There's going to be lots of, there will be food included at the conference, and the fact that there's no cost associated with the conference.
That's a really big piece, because what's happening is Service Canada is partnering with this group of employers and Reachability to bring this conference at no cost to employers. We want to encourage, of course, as many of the decision makers to take that day off. And I know in my family you offer free food, we'd all be there.
Right.
So it's always good to mention that meals will be included, but it is a full day event, I believe, from 8 o'clock in the morning right until 3 with appropriate breaks.
Right.
So we certainly encourage all of you to contact Reachability, again, at promotions@reachability.org, or call Reachability at 902-429-5878 to see if there's still available space for you to join what I think is an Inclusion Revolution conference, the Business for Tomorrow conference, in support of inclusion of persons with disabilities in your workplaces. So with that said, Paul, what is our medical breakthrough news today? What are we talking about? Because I love this medical breakthrough news stuff you find me.
I find it fascinating to do the research on the topics and come up with different items. And one of them that's touched me a few years back, because a friend of mine actually died as a result of complications from MS, that they've finally made a definitive link between vitamin D and MS, because MS has traditionally been a northern disease.
Now you said a link. You're not suggesting that vitamin D causes MS.
No.
The link is a better link than that, right, Paul?
It's a better link in the fact that by taking vitamin D, which is associated with sunshine, most people receive vitamin D through sunshine, but because a lack of vitamin D, what they've connected to, the lack of vitamin D actually can lead to someone developing MS later in life.
So they've actually made a connection between vitamin D deficiency
yes,
and the occurrence of MS, which is really interesting, because they find that MS is usually more prevalent in cold climates.
Right.
So now that I hear you say that, it's like one of those moments, because that makes so much sense. So they're recommending now that people start taking vitamin D?
They are, especially pregnant women who are carrying children, and children under the age of 5. In Britain, they've actually started a regimen for all children under the age of 5 to take vitamin D supplements.
Right. Now, I also heard not that long ago that also vitamin D was positively linked to cancer. In other words, they suggested anybody who's genetically predisposed to cancer, such as myself who has a parent with cancer, should be taking a minimum of 1,000 milligrams of vitamin D a day. So I added that back when I heard about the cancer.
Right.
So now I just feel like, if I take 2,000, will that help, or just stick to my 1,000 probably?
Exactly. But the research is so interesting, because they've always known there's been a link between the sunshine. They've always known there's been a link, like the genetic factor and also an environmental factor. So they're finally making that connection between the two, which brings it closer to discovering a cure for MS and reducing the occurrence of it within
Certainly
the population.
Reducing the occurrence, because again, there is a high occurrence certainly in our population in Nova Scotia as one of those colder climes that we've referred to. So I think that's really fascinating. And what they keep finding finding is more and more vitamin D. You know, they're telling us stay out of the sun, stay out of the sun.
Exactly.
So what's starting to happen with all of us is we're all becoming vitamin D deficient, because those of us who used to think that we were timeless and would never get wrinkles and would lay in the sun all day out of Queensland like me, and have started to realize that was probably not my wisest move, need to get our vitamin D, which is ideally gotten from sunshine, but because of the issues around skin cancer and of course all the other things and aging in the sun, vitamin D has become basically an essential in our vitamins. And I don't want anyone to think because their multivitamin lists vitamin D, you need to check to find out how much, because the recommended dose, I understand, for adults is 1,000 milligrams a day, and that anything less is not really enough to be effective. Certainly in the case of the cancer, which I did a little extra research because I had a personal investment in that, obviously.
And you've also got to think of young children being lathered. The parents are overusing the sunblock on children, which prevents the absorption of vitamin C within their skin. So there is a balance between preventing cancer as an exposure to the sun, but there's also the benefits of vitamin D. You've got to balance
Ironically,
that.
in preventing cancer.
In preventing cancer, you're also stopping the absorption of vitamin C.
So
or
I want to
vitamin
make
D,
it
rather.
clear that you're not going to get this solution out of going to tanning beds, which they've proven are just as toxic as the sun. We're not encouraging you to run out to Queensland and lay on a table of foil and burn yourself. What we're saying is, because the sun itself can create damage, that what we really want to encourage is that 1,000 milligrams of vitamin D a day, which brings us to our poll of the week, and I'm just going to read it so I say it correctly. And do go to theinclusionrevolution.com and vote on this week's poll, which is, now that you know the benefits of vitamin D, do you plan to add it to your regimen? Have you heard enough, and are you looking into it and making a decision it's time to add that? I know I have, I know Paul has, and we certainly encourage you to look at the vitamins you're taking and, of course, speak to your physician. And that's really all the time we have today. So I want to thank you, Paul, for sitting with me and talking about the Business for Tomorrow conference that they can hear more about at reachability.org.
Correct.
I thank you all for joining us at Inclusion Revolution. And the Inclusion Revolution never stops. We just want you to join us. So we'll see you soon. Thank you.